tell. Can you believe how little it was there? Those are the good old days. Okay, good morning, everyone. I would like to call to order the Pasco County Board of County Commissioners meeting of November 27th. And please silence your cell phones at this time. If we could rise for the invocation and pledge.
Please bow your heads. O merciful Creator, your hand is open wide to satisfy the needs of every living creature. Make us thankful for your loving providence and grant that we, remembering the account that we must one day give, may be faithful stewards of your good gifts. Amen.
Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
District 1, Commissioner Oakley.
Here.
District 2, Commissioner Moore.
Here.
District 3, Commissioner Starkey. Here. District 5, Commissioner Mariano.
Here.
District 4, Chairman Wells.
Here. Thank you. Now is the time for public comment. Citizens are given an opportunity to comment on any item coming before the board during this public comment section. The board also takes public comment on items to be placed on future board agenda or other business under their purview. Public comment for public hearing items is taken during those individual public hearings beginning at 1:30. Individuals speaking during public comment will be given 3 minutes to speak. After stating your name and address for the clerk, the timer located on the podium will start a countdown. After 2 minutes, one beep will sound and the light on the timer will change from green to yellow, letting you know that only 1 minute remains. After the time is up, 2 beeps will sound, the light on the timer will change from yellow to red, indicating 3 minutes are up and you should close your comments. We have the following folks signed up to speak. Looks like David Schaefer and Karen Jones. If you'd like to come forward.
Good morning. My name is David Schaefer, and I'm with I'm the COO of Counterpoint Energy Solutions. We are the third-party program administrator for the Florida PACE funding agency, and I'm here today in response to the proposed termination of the subscription agreement between the Florida PACE funding agency and Pasco County. Thank you for the opportunity to present. Just would like to say at the outset, the Florida PACE funding agency, its board, its staff, and Counterpoint are fully committed to consumer protections and disclosures, and we work collaboratively in cities and counties where we do business. In our response to the charging letter for termination, we requested that this matter be deferred to a later date to allow for dialogue and mediation as contemplated by Florida Statute Chapter 164. We also think that an experienced mediator would be helpful since we haven't had any such dialogue. The charging letter for Mr. Bramlett, in our view, contains inaccurate facts and errors in interpretation of contract and law. There are 2 grounds for termination that are alleged in the charging letter. One is that a report was not filed, which has since been cured, and the second that there's no tax agreement between, tax collector agreement between the agency and the Pasco County tax collector. There is an agreement, it's in full force and effect. It cannot be terminated in mid-cycle, and the Florida Department of Revenue has weighed in on that subject as recently as September, and that letter is included in our, in our response materials submitted to the board. We believe that these issues require more careful consideration than has been given to date, and to that end, we recommend that the process be considered before, due process would be better served if we all had an opportunity to mediate as contemplated by Florida law. Thank you.
It's up to the board, but I know Senator Fasano's here. Do we want to have him come up now? Because I know we're talking about R4, which We don't really take public comment. I know we have it time certain at 10:30, but you tell me as a board what you would prefer to do, and we're getting ready to change the gavel here in just a second. But I know we have one more person signed up. Do you want to listen to Mr. Fasano now? And then we'll just make a decision time certain at 10:30. Is that okay with everybody?
Yep.
Yes. Okay. Senator?
Good morning. Thank you for allowing me to come before you and for taking up this issue. As you know, I asked you at the last commission meeting, or I should say a few commission meetings ago, to bring this issue up to do away with the contract with Florida PACE Funding Agency. One of the things we tried to do at the tax collector's office and at the property appraiser's offices, and Gary Joyner is here today, is to try and protect our consumers. As you do every day as commissioners, as a county administrator, the county attorney. And the only thing that we asked our PACE providers to do was to have our customers sign a disclosure, a simple disclosure that explains what PACE is all about. And for this gentleman to suggest that there's no dialogue, it's laughable. We had a meeting months ago, asked our PACE providers to come. Everyone showed up. We had several meetings and conversation and communications with the PACE providers after that, except for one. And that's the one who is here today, who we're asking for you to abolish their contract. They never communicated with us again. They never bothered to show up at any meeting. 3 other PACE providers in Pasco County came forward, worked with us on this disclosure, and they signed the agreement requiring that their customers and their contractor sign and file this disclosure with the property tax collector and the property appraiser's office. Simple things on this disclosure. Simple things. Why are you concerned to tell people what is a residential PACE program? Is the PACE program free for me? How do I qualify for financing? How do I repay the PACE funds? How do I pay interest for financing? Are there other costs? What happens if I'm not happy with the improvements? What happens if I have trouble making the increased payments? Can I refinance my home while I still make payments to the PACE provider and program? Can I sell my home before I pay off the PACE program lien? Why would a PACE provider like this one here today be afraid to ask their customers to sign this disclosure? Why would they be concerned about it is what my question is. You know, in fact, early on, when we signed the contract with our PACE providers, as you may know, under the uniform method of collecting, we are allowed to charge 2%. Well, the PACE providers wanted to just charge 1% on commercial. They didn't care about the homeowners, the little guy and gal, you know, the ones that you represent, that I represent. So we said, no, we're going to allow you to be only charged 1% for everyone, with the understanding that by charging only 1%, that would reflect in the interest rate that you're charging Pasco residents. Well, guess what? We later found out that they weren't reducing the interest rate. They were charging the same interest rate for the same project, if you will, that they were charging in Hillsborough County and other counties that they are charging in Pasco. Simple things. I don't understand why they don't want to provide a disclosure to their customer. They will stand here all day long and tell you, hey, we provide all kinds of protections to the consumers. But you know, you've read, you've seen on TV that many PACE homeowners that have taken a loan are now realizing what the effect's having on them. Let me give you some others, if I may. Here's a sample. Here's a property owner in 2017. Their taxes were $3,120 in 2017. Now their tax bill is $5,051 because of a PACE loan they took out, and now their taxes have gone up $1,981. that homeowner did not fully understand what they were getting themselves into. Had they had this disclosure, this simple disclosure, for them to understand what they were getting themselves into, maybe they would have thought twice. They would have understood, well, you know what, I just can't afford this. Here's another one. Here's a gentleman, 100% disabled. 100% disabled. His tax bill in 2017, $153.60. $153.60. A person who was on a limited fixed income. He gets his tax bill, 2018. His tax bill is now $2,871. Do you understand what happens when somebody doesn't pay a tax bill? They lose their home. They lose their home. They're not out with any money, the PACE providers. They don't lose a dime. They're guaranteed their money. All I asked for this PACE provider, as the other three agreed to, sign the agreement, to suggest that they want to sit down all of a sudden, come together, mediation. Why? You had your opportunities. You didn't show up. There's one way to solve this problem today. Agree. Agree like the other three PACE providers did and sign the amended contract with us and with the property appraiser. So you'll but require your customer and your contractor to sign the disclosure. How many times have we seen where some of these contractors have taken advantage of our homeowners here in Pasco? How many times have we seen where mass mailings have gone out to individuals, especially in the Holiday, Hudson, Newport Richey area, Zephyrhills, Dade City area, encouraging individuals, they need a new roof. When they don't. Well, they don't understand that their tax bill is going up 3 and 4 times, probably even tenfold, as I just described one here to you now. And lastly, they can argue the point all they want about having the contract with the tax collector's office or not. But apparently they didn't bother reading the contract that they have with the property appraiser's office. And that property appraiser's office contract with them clearly states the property appraiser can abolish that contract without any reason or cause with 30 days' notice. And if the property appraiser does not have it in the tax roll, guess what? The tax collector cannot collect it. I would ask you to please don't delay this. Do away with their contract with the county. And if they don't want it to be done away with, then step forward now and sign the amended contract that requires the homeowner to sign a disclosure so they understand what they're getting themselves into. Thank you.
Thank you. I have one last person signed up, Miss Jones, Karen Jones. Good morning.
My name is Karen Jones. I live on Allen Road in Zephyrhills. We've lived there since May of 1989, 29 and a half years. My mission today is to bring attention to the intersection of Highway 54 West and Allen Road. Before doing so, I would like to tell you that Allen Road was still a dirt road when we moved there. It is the first through road west of Highway 301, running parallel to Highway 301. It was so bad that me and my neighbors drove off the road to get home. After checking with the county and Road and Bridge, to name a few, there were no plans to pave it. So against the advice of my attorney, I mapped it out and went door to door, and we raised $22,500 for pavement from Happy Days RV Park to Tucker Road. The county provided the base and maintained it after we paved it, and this was done in 1991. Even then, the intersection of 54 and Allen was a problem. Walmart was in the plaza, which they gave $2,000 towards our paving, and Walmart eventually moved to the city, and we now have a mini storage and Habitat Restore in its place. And in the same plaza, we have a Bell's outlet, a dentist, a Coastal Furniture, a Big Lots, a thrift store, a Dollar Tree, an insurance agency, a Dice's, a nail salon, hair hut, and smoke shop. At least 13 businesses. Then across the road on Allen Road is Hillvest Center. We have 3 large buildings. with 12 suites each, potential 36 businesses such as a preschool, daycare, churches, hair salon, smoke shop, delicatessen, computer lab, bicycle shop, solar business, appliance store, and on the very corner at Highway 54 and Allen Road, there is a food mart and gas station, plus a bicycle path. Trying to make a left-hand turn is nearly impossible without taking a huge chance. Now, the speed limit increases from 40 mile per hour to 45 mile per hour just as you get to the Big Lots Plaza on Allen. It's amazing at all the ins and outs. It's like a traffic light that's out, and we need an officer to direct us all. You have to see it to believe it. There is a light at Coates and 54 and a light east of us closer to 301, but it can be a racetrack in between, such as in the late summer a few months ago when 2 young ladies died at the hands of a drunk driver driving over 100 mile per hour coming from the city of Zephyrhills. They were simply attempting to turn onto Evans Street across from Buddy Foster Automotive, right by the intersection of Allen Road. Too bad that we didn't have a light to possibly slow him down. Really, it is safe for me to drive south on Allen Road to Chansey to Coates and out to Highway 54, but we shouldn't have to. After all, we paved Allen Road to use it. Plus, we have 4 RV parks full of snowbirds now and bars, propane, and AC on Allen Road between Highway 54 and Tucker. And now, in progress is 60-plus acres seeking approval to build 336 single-family homes on Allen Road behind Habitat Restore. Please help me. I've been trying for years. One time I was told it would take a station wagon full of kids to die before a light would be installed. Seriously? Remember back when I collected money to get Allen Road paved? My then commissioner was complacent. And then when I moved along with our plan, her office told me that I opened up a can of worms. And who do you think you are? Well, I am nobody, simply working hard every day and about to open up another can of worms. I have the full support of my neighbors and businesses. They continue to ask me, when are they going to put a light at 54 and Allen? I tell them, they don't seem to care. It's all about the amount of traffic accidents. It may be up to us. Please help us get a much-needed traffic light at Highway 54 West and Allen Road. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'm sorry?
You said thank you.
Thank you. I said thank you.
You said thank you.
Does anybody else like to speak under public comment? If so, please come forward. Seeing no one, it'll close the public comment portion. And we will move on to reorganization, and I'll just briefly say it's been a fantastic year to serve as chairman. I appreciate the board trusting me with that. It's been a great year. It's nice to see the 4 referendums pass in Pasco County because we were faced with a couple tough decisions if it didn't pass. So I'm really excited and for the staff for the great job they did to help move these things along and educate our residents. So it's very, very exciting and very excited about the future. So with that, I will pass the gavel to Dr. O'Neill.
Thank you very much. At this point, the chairman has given me the gavel, and I will accept nominations for new chairman.
Nominate Vice Chairman Oakley as chairman.
Okay. Okay, are there any other nominations? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, unanimous. Thank you very much. I will hand the gavel to our new chairman, the Honorable Ronald Oakley.
You gotta start shifting chairs.
Yep. Give us a few minutes to get repositioned here. So, two,
You got 2 of them just in case, one for each hand.
Commissioner Starkey, move down here.
Thank you.
All right, that's gonna take me a second. Well, I'll get that stuff later.
Oh, sure. I'll stand up for you.
Good job.
Ron? Commissioner Oakley. Chairman Oakley, congratulations.
Scott, we moved.
I get to spread out again.
I got my other meeting stuff under there, so. Thank you.
Everybody get situated, it'll be all right.
I think I'm the only one that flip-flops back and forth.
I'll take this opportunity to
You don't ever move.
thank the board for having confidence in me being
But I
chairman.
go from right to left.
honored to be here, with my fellow commissioners and all that we've gotten done over the last 2 years that I've been here. It's pretty amazing for our county what we've had go on here in just 2 years. And we've got a lot more to come, and the referendum is passing, like Commissioner Wells said. We got a lot to be thankful for here in Pasco County, and that our citizens agreed with us that those items need to be taken care of. So with that, we'll move on to reorganization, and at this time, accept nominations for vice chairman. I'd like to nominate Commissioner Moore. Second.
Any other not, what you normally do is
Any other nominations? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Okay, passed unanimously. Congratulations, Mr. Moore, Chairman,
Thank you,
Vice
sir.
Chairman Moore. Papers. At this time, we'll move into the consent.
This is your poll sheet.
Oh, that's my sheet. Okay. We have pool C-78, C-37, C-51, C-44. Is there any more items to be pulled at this time? Hearing none. I'll accept a motion on those remaining items on consent.
So moved.
Second. A motion and a second to accept all consent items remaining. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion passed. I will take the first item, C-78, pull and revise, and that is Kathy Pearson.
Kim Price, I think.
Kim's going to take care of it, okay?
Good morning, Commissioners and Board members. C-78 is being pulled and revised per the request of the County Attorney's Office. They would like to further review the Florida State statute relating to this request and also redirect the approval to the County Administrator's purview. Per the new purchasing ordinance, this change would require no further action from the Board at this time. Thank you.
Move for approval.
So are you withdrawing the item or are you revising the
It's
item?
revising it.
It is going to be revised, but they need further action. Karen Lloyd would like to further review it.
So withdraw for today and then approve it on bring back on the 11th?
Yes, sorry.
So the action,
Excuse me, no, I'm sorry, it's not going to come back before the Board. She wants to move it to your purview, the County Administrator's purview for approval.
Sorry.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Chairman, I'd
yeah.
also like to review it, the final.
So I'll withdraw my motion then.
so we'll pull the item and have everyone review it and bring it back.
It sounds like they want the county administrator to be able to approve it
Okay?
after the county attorney and county clerk approve it.
So administratively is what you're saying,
Is that?
Okay.
and not to the board? Is that what you're asking?
I'm asking,
That's what,
Yes. At the last minute, the County Attorney, Karen Lloyd, pulled the item to further review the Florida statute, and then she said she would redirect it under the County Administrator's purview for approval.
okay. So we need a motion for pull? I don't think we need a motion for
If-
pulling it.
If the administrator wants this to be delegated to him, you will need a motion to approve it, subject to the review of the county attorney's office and the clerk's office, with the authorization for the chair, or for the
Administrator.
county administrator to sign the agreement.
Right.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman,
yes.
is there any reason this comes before the board and now we're not going to have it before the board? Why is that change being looked for and why wasn't it there before?
C-78.
I have an answer.
Why are we changing this instead of, is there any harm in continuing this and just bringing it back?
I don't know if there's a
Not that I
timing
can
issue.
see, no. It has to be signed, but they were asking under the new purchasing ordinance, because of the amount only being 15,000, that it could be under the county administrator's purview instead of coming back to the board.
Oh, that's, yeah. That's
That's what we agreed
understandable.
on. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. And that's part of, Chairman,
Go ahead, yes.
that's part of the new agreement. I don't even know why you need to bring it to us. If it's less than 15,000, you're able to make the decision without us. We shouldn't have to make a motion.
This is, I've got no information on this item.
Right.
And this is a funding agreement. It wouldn't be subject to the purchasing ordinance. So
Right.
I'm not sure how the purchasing ordinance plays in this item.
Mr. Chairman, can,
Yes.
just withdraw this item.
Yeah, we'll
Withdraw
bring
it
back the
and
11th.
go into the
Withdraw and
purview of
bring-
the,
Yeah,
of Lyle and the county administrator to sign off on it. But it needs to be withdrawn.
withdraw and bring it back.
This afternoon.
We only need to bring it back.
Yes, yes, sir, we do. It's a funding agreement. It's not a purchasing agreement. If it's
So
purchasing,
that's-
it would be under my authority under the purchasing ordinance.
So
But it's a
there's
funding
the mistake
agreement, so it would
clause.
have to come back,
Correct.
Okay.
unless you do the
So-
motion as a county attorney outline.
So would we be ready to?
When we just
Revise and
withdraw
bring
and
it
bring
back
it
this
back, we
afternoon?
just bring it back on the 11th.
Why don't you pull it off the agenda for right now? We'll see what's going on with the item. If it's ready to come back this afternoon, we'll bring it back to you. If not, it'll have to come back on the 11th.
Okay. So I have a motion to that, to pull it?
You don't, no, you
Don't need a
just,
motion? Okay, the item's pulled for the time being, and we'll bring it back to us. All right,
Thank you.
next item, Bob Garion, C-37.
Morning, Mr. Chair. I'd like to pull and revise C-37 to correct a Scrivener's error. The purchase will actually occur in fiscal year 19, not fiscal year 18.
Move for approval as revised.
Second. I have a motion and a second to approve as revised. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion passed. Next, Mike Rabala, 51.
Yes,
Yes, sir.
on C-51, there is a Scrivener's error. There was an inadvertent reference to fiscal year 18, when in fact it should be fiscal year 19.
Move for approval as revised.
Second. Okay, motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion passed. C-44, Commissioner Starkey.
That's me. I wanted to talk about the timeline here, because I appreciate government moves slow, but when we approved this, we accepted this money in July of 2016. And some of us went out there and started talking about it in the community. And then, if I'm understanding right, you guys sent me a timeline. So on July 20th, I'm sorry, in July 14th, 2016, we learned that we won the $1 million grant. July 20th, 2016, we accepted the $1 million grant. On October 18th of 2016, the Gulf Coast Highway Road Maintenance Organization was formed. Then we get to March 7th, so now, 5 months later, we approved that agreement. May 23rd, we put it out, of 2017, we put it out for design. It took 10 months for next action on that. I'm just really frustrated at how long this has taken, and if we have received, I thought we received 3 pots of money. Did we receive 2 or 3?
You are correct. We received, we have several different phases on this project, and there's been a lot of coordination with the Florida Department of Transportation, as you're aware. And working with the department, we were able to get the 3rd phase funded. What we tried to do, and I'll just add one more part to this, what we tried to do is do the entire design for the entire US 19 corridor, and then we worked with the department to get the different phases scheduled. This is phase 1. We went through the bidding process. It is somewhat of a very detailed review with the state agency to get their approvals. And we went through that and gained their approval, and now we're ready to, as soon as the board awards this, we'll start construction.
Okay, because it says here that we were gonna, already have started construction. So we're already a little bit behind, I think, on phase one, because we're past the fall of 2018, right? I don't know. Is it not
We're-
done?
Yeah, we're,
Maybe-
yeah,
Because
we're,
in reading the contract, they don't have to start for months, right?
they have so many days to start after we issue a notice to proceed. We've already scheduled a pre-construction meeting with them, pending a favorable outcome today.
So when will we see the first plant in the median?
You'll see activity very quickly. They will work to prepare the ground, and then after that, they'll wait till after the latest freeze, and then start putting plants in the ground.
Because, I've been talking about this now for 2 years now to different civic associations up and down 19.
Sure.
And so I am hopeful that we are not going to have any more delays then, and we're going to, phase 2, phase 3 is going to just roll out in a timely manner?
Yes, sir.
It's not going
Yes,
to be
ma'am.
3 years between each one?
Yes, that is the plan ever since the beginning when we did the master plan at the very offset. We talked about, originally they were going to design this in phase 1, 2, and 3, and that would have actually added a year to the schedule. So doing the master plan originally, that the board awarded and the state approved, enables us to just go from one phase to the second phase.
Okay, to the third phase, because we have
Correct.
3. And someone sent me a analysis of the project phases and the schedules and the budgets, and they left off $1 million. So hopefully that line is going to get added to this.
And then
the total here is $2,322,000, and it's really should be $3 million.
The third phase is going through the approval process for an
So-
extra $1 million.
Okay, because, yeah, I have 3 in your notes that were sent to me. It looks like we already approved that, but maybe we haven't.
Yeah.
All right, well, I move for approval. I'm just frustrated at the slow pace of the whole thing.
I'll second with
Thank
more
you.
discussion.
Okay.
And I share your frustration. We were supposed to start this at the latest was going to be May this year and have it through to the wet drying season. Now that you're combining 2 phases into one, can we assume that by May, you'll at least have everything ready to go for both phases in one shot?
We're working very closely with the state, and we'll give you an update here within the next couple of months on phase 2 also. The design plans are ready to go. The funding is in place. We will have to bid out phase 2 to get a contractor on board.
Okay.
The funding's in place, but you're not able to actually bid out the project until you actually have approvals from the state agency.
Is there a chance that you can move this along quicker than phase 1, so you can do phase
Yes.
1 and 2 at the same time?
Absolutely.
So in 2 months, you'll be able to come back to us and we can then take a look at putting the bids
Yes.
out so we can be ready for May.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Okay? Thank you.
All right, I have a motion and a second on C44 on approval.
Aye.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion passed.
We do have a time certain.
We have a
Mr.
time
Chair.
certain at 10:30, which we're running a little bit behind that, is 10:35. It's on the issue of pace and, which both parties have spoken. So what's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I mean, I think they should either agree to sign the form or we need to cut our losses and move on. I don't know if we want to take public comment from him or if he's willing to sign the form. I think Senator Fasano's laid out a pretty good argument. We have leverage with the property appraiser where he can end it in 30 days. We can even just go that way, let him end it in 30 days. But I think it's
Mr.
very,
Chairman.
very important that we protect our people out there to know exactly what's going on. And I think signing that form is an extra disclosure. It is an extra step for the company, but I think it's worthwhile to try to take that extra step to present our people, protect our people.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
what is before you is the termination of the agreement for default.
So the motion would be for
The
approving the,
Mr. Chairman, if I can
Okay,
finish.
go ahead.
The motion, the item which is before you is for default for failure to file a timely report. That default cannot be cured by now filing on the November 17th a report and saying, sorry, we neglected to provide it. Because that report was to come before your decision whether or not to renew them for another 3 years. So it's the county attorney's position is that they have defaulted on the agreement. And my recommendation would be to proceed with that default if the tax collector and this PACE agency can come to some accommodation with regard to their issues. We can always enter into a new interlocal agreement with the PACE provider. But at this point, what is before you is a termination based on default, based on the interlocal agreement which they have entered into.
Commissioner Wells? And I agree with Commissioner Mariano. You know, the last 4 years, we've made a huge stride, a huge impact on transparency in this county. From our website, where you can go and look at different projects to see where your money's being spent. This is another example of transparency and accountability. So with that, I make a motion to approve R4 and terminate the agreement.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion passed. Okay. With that, we move on to
R1 is a time certain at noon.
Right.
So your next item up would be R2.
All right, R2. Now, who is presenting R2?
I think Branford's coming.
Okay.
Branford, you're up.
You're up.
Good morning, Commission. Branford Atumwa, Director of Public Works. So Johnson Road is a road that we went over that requires PVACs to be done. The total estimated project cost is $260,000. Taking out the discount, it comes to a maximum cost per year of $1,755. Okay, just a rough map showing where it's located. It's not that clear. Okay, if you take a look at the road, you see what the condition is. There's been a base failure, as you can see, with potholes. Part of the road, looking at Rampet Lane. I think that is about it.
What's going on here?
Are there any questions, please?
Any questions?
Brent, I want to thank you for bringing it forward. This was brought to me by a citizen a long time ago, and I will tell you the road's in very bad shape. Around that whole area, East Brown Acres was done some 14 years ago. This road was somehow left off that. They've done other paving assessments in there as well. It's a road that's just in terrible shape right off 19, so I support it. Move approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion passed. Thank you. Next is over. I gotta be sure.
Are they here?
Well,
I think our 11 time certain is ready. Is that right, Mike?
Yes, sir.
If
Is
you
it
want to
okay
jump.
now?
Very good.
Everybody's here? Okay.
Yes, so Mike Carballa, Public Infrastructure. We have with us today Matt Jordan, Chief Executive Officer for Tampa Bay Water, as well as Ken Hurd, Chief Science and Technology Officer. They're here to provide an update. Tampa Bay Water goes through a 5-year master planning process, and so they're here to give us a brief update on the current process and demand projections.
Okay.
Thank you, Mike, and good morning, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. Appreciate the opportunity to be here today to talk about Tampa Bay Water. Of course, we are your regional water provider. As Mike said, we do have several staff members here that could answer questions if you may have any at the conclusion of the presentation. Looking back to 1998, where we started, we had the task to build a true regional system. We, at the time, purchased most of the assets, water assets, from the member governments, the 6 member governments, and we were charged with connecting those assets and also building new infrastructure to make sure that we had a very strong and robust regional system. And this shows what we've done since 1998 to connect all of those all of the infrastructure, and this came at the cost of a little over $1 billion. In 1998, we were 100% groundwater. Now we have transitioned. We have 3 water sources. We have surface water, which is about 34%, and last year, desalinated seawater was only 3%. Typically, that's anywhere from 3 to 8% of the water that we produce. As part of the infrastructure we built, the regional reservoir was one of those components that holds 15.5 billion gallons of water that we can store during the wet season to be used during the dry season. And this system was tested pretty well in 2017, where we faced the worst dry period that we've had in 100 years, and we were able to get through that, and pretty much not too many people noticed as far as the water we were able to provide. So the system that you and we built together did work. As part of the formation of Tampa Bay Water in 1998, we were also charged with a recovery of the groundwater systems that had been previously overpumped. And you can see this is a photograph of Starvation Lake at the Section 21 well field. And you can see how that's changed over the years, and this is the recovery is due to decreased pumping, and of course we've had additional rainfall as well. The next part of the presentation is we were not only charged with making sure that we connected all of these systems and built a strong regional system, we were also charged with building water supplies for the future. And so our board is scheduled to adopt the update of our master water plan at the December board meeting, and I'd like to ask Mr. Ken Hurd to come forward and present some of the components of our master water plan. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jordan, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Thank you for inviting us here today. I appreciate this opportunity to talk to you about our planning process. As Mr. Jordan indicated, we are developing our master water plan update, and so we're going to talk about kind of where we go from where we are today. So the master water plan update is a requirement of our interlocal agreement. It requires that we update this plan every 5 years. So since we're into the 20th year of our, since the creation of Tampa Bay Water, we're doing the 4th update to this plan, and we're scheduled to have that done and approved by the board in December of this year. So this plan is about more than just developing new projects. It tends to be what we focus on, but there's more to that. We look at demand forecasting, optimizing our existing assets, making sure that we get what we can out of what we have. Demand management, which we know is very cost effective compared to developing new supply, roughly 1/10 of the cost of new supply development. We also have to consider regulatory requirements with permitting, and then we also look at water quality. So the two main questions that we're trying to answer through this planning process are, when do we need to build new water supply projects? And then what do we build when we get to that point? So there are several components that our master water plan update looks at. As far as the question of when to build, we consider demand forecasts, where we look at over the next 20 years, what do we project the demand for water supply for the region to be. And we update that every year. So we really appreciate the cooperation of your staff, the utility staff, providing us with your billing data. We use that to update our forecast every year and keep track of where we stand and where we're going. We also include demand management. We're working with the member governments in developing a regional approach to demand management, working with the Water Management District on a block grant program arrangement where we can work together to conserve water. We estimate that we could conserve up to 11 million gallons per day over the next 10 years. And when you look at the cost of that method of water management, it is very cost effective in terms of we're looking at measures that are about 1/10 of the cost of developing new supply. So it seems like a really good program to move forward with. Then we have water shortage mitigation, which is a tool that we have in working with the Water Management District on being able to impose water restrictions if we get into a drought or a water shortage condition. So we also work with the district on emergency orders, which can grant us some additional water temporarily from our resources to help us get through a drought or a really dry period. So then we get into what to build as part of the program, and we look at the main focus of that is for the new water supply projects. We also look at the optimization of our existing assets, delivery, making sure that we can deliver the water to where it's needed within the region when it's needed. And then we look at public input as well to give us some information from the public on what their views are of these new supply options. So I'd like to talk to you about the preliminary ranking of our future water supply projects. Our board has established 3 main goals for us to work toward in managing our infrastructure. So we use these criteria to help guide us as to which projects to move forward with, including environmental stewardship, project cost, and then reliability. So we ended up, when we went through this process, with 3 main project concepts. One would use groundwater, another would rely on surface water or river and canal water, and another would be an expansion of our existing desalination facility. I'm going to talk a little bit more about those in detail in just a moment. The pressing need that we have is selecting a project to meet the water supply needs, the growing needs in South Hillsborough County. We are on schedule to provide new water supply into that specific part of the region by 2025. So we're scheduled for a decision by February of 2020 to make a decision on whether we move forward with a regional pipeline to either deliver new water supply from our existing water supply sources or develop this what we call the SHARP project, South Hillsborough Aquifer Recharge Project, where we would develop additional groundwater using injected reclaimed water in a coastal area down in South Hillsborough County. So just to give you an overview of these new projects that we're looking at, one is the expansion of our surface water system. This could be up to about a 10 million gallon per day project. We could either locate the expansion at our existing plant, which is near the Falkenberg, north of Brandon area, or we're looking at the option of developing a new treatment facility now down near the reservoir in South Hillsborough County. Also, with this project, we're looking at the Alafia River as for additional water that can be made available, since the Water Management District has established minimum flows that results in additional water that could be developed from the Alafia River, so we're going to be looking at that project as well. We have the expansion of the existing desalination plant. This plant was designed to be expanded up to 10 million gallons per day, so that's one of the options that we're looking at. So that could be an additional 10 million gallons per day for the region. And then we have the SHARP project, which is new groundwater that we could develop using credits that would be made available by Hillsborough County, injecting highly treated wastewater into the aquifer along the coastline This is in the most impacted area that's established by the Water Management District. So this could be a win-win where it provides environmental recovery for the southern water use caution area, as well as providing additional water supply in an area where it's needed in South Hillsborough County. This could yield anywhere from 7.5 to 20 million gallons per day, depending on how much reclaimed water would be injected down in that area. We are also monitoring the Tampa augmentation project. This is a project that is being evaluated by the city of Tampa, where they're looking at injecting water from the Howard F. Curran facility into the aquifer near their surface water facility, the David L. Tippin facility. They would inject that. The plan would be for them to inject that water down into a deeper aquifer and then withdraw it from a shallower aquifer. And then that water would be transmitted into their reservoir for use exclusively by the city of Tampa. We are currently working with the member governments, and our board has considered an agreement with Tampa. That is an agreement or a memorandum of understanding that kind of sets forth an opportunity for that project to be implemented within the bounds of our interlocal agreement. So that is another issue that is, we're having a workshop to discuss this that's coming up at our December board meeting. That's a project that, like I said, that is being implemented by the city of Tampa. And we will be monitoring that to see exactly what effect that would have on Tampa Bay Water and our regional system. And just to discuss the next steps, as we said, we're going to be taking the master water plan to the board in December and asking that they approve that plan in accordance with our interlocal agreement. And then we're also going to ask that the board shortlist those 3 project concepts that I discussed for additional feasibility study. We'll be doing those studies over the next couple of years, and then by February 2020, we're going to be asking the board to select a project to serve South Hillsborough County. And then depending on which project is selected, that could affect the next decision point of when additional water supply would be needed to be developed for the entire region. So with that, I conclude the presentation and we'll be happy to take any questions.
Any questions? Okay.
As far as the City of Tampa project, that doesn't have to be approved or disapproved at the December meeting. We can move on. We can look for more information, right?
Yeah, that'll be the pleasure of the board. I mean, as far as the timing aspect of that, there's no pressing need from a water supply development standpoint. I know there are some issues with the cooperative funding that the city is considering that is, I think, causing them to look at that as more of an urgent decision point.
And I don't know if the board members have been following the controversy, because this is a new concept. What do you do with your reclaimed water, and it changes Tampa's dynamic, I think, on the board a little bit. They'll become totally self-sufficient, right? And then I do believe that some of the excess water from the Tampa Bypass Canal becomes available to the rest of the members, but I think there's still some issues to be resolved.
Yeah. I think we're going to have a workshop prior to that meeting.
Yes, we plan to do that and be able to discuss some of these questions that still remain about the project.
Right.
So,
one thing I know, and I think our board will agree to, that whatever water becomes excess to our member governments, that it should be handled through Tampa Bay Water as our wholesaler. And if it should go to another area or somewhere else, if anyone sells it, it should be Tampa Bay Water selling that as a wholesaler for our complete group. That I'll bring that up during that workshop. So I think that's important to make sure we keep Tampa Bay Water as our wholesaler of water.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Moore.
Just have a question. With Tampa moving towards, the city of Tampa moving towards being quote self-sufficient, and there'll be more water available for the member governments, I would assume that our costs would decrease considerably of of the water we're purchasing through Tampa Bay Water.
Well, there's still, you know, we have our financial officer here to address impacts on the uniform rate.
Right.
But a lot of that, you know, there's still a lot of questions that have to be answered about the project and the timing of those things.
Yeah. Just like, you know, common sense, more commodities available, the cost goes down, right?
Well,
So-
it's certainly, when you look at our debt service, when we are approaching the end of some of our debt service periods, and if we can defer the need to develop additional supply, then clearly that's going to have a positive effect on our rate. So there would be, as far as the other members, an impact there from a reduction in the debt service costs for the debt that we've had to pay for our developing new supply projects. But there's still, you know, those remaining, or the members that are taking water from Tampa Bay Water will still have to share that, the variable costs of developing or producing water plus the fixed cost as well.
So a follow-up question to that. What % of the water is coming from Pasco County at this time that's used by the members?
That's coming out of the well fields in Pasco County?
Yeah.
I don't know, Chuck, if you would know.
Yeah, it's hard to determine, I guess.
Yeah, we have a consolidated permit of well fields that include all of the well fields that were dealt with when we became Tampa Bay Water, which now Tampa Bay Water owns all those. Majority of that water is in Pasco, but there is some of that in Hillsborough County, the northwest part of Hillsborough County. There's also the Morris Bridge well field that the city of Tampa conveyed to Tampa Bay Water.
How many gallons are coming out of that?
It's about 90, it roughly is up to 90 million gallons a day. And right now, our demand is about 170, around 178. That's what, like.
But 90 million gallons a day is coming from Pasco County.
Probably not that much. I would say it would be less than that. A portion of that would be coming from Pasco. I don't know the exact number today, but it's going to be something, you know, probably 80, 75% or so, I would say.
We ought to be
And then
look and find out what that is.
Yeah, I could get that number.
Okay. In Pasco County, Mike, you might need to answer this. How much does Pasco County typically use on a daily basis?
We're on average about 30.
About 30.
I average flow.
So more is coming out of Pasco County than we are actually utilizing as a county, correct? Okay.
That's why they were created.
Well, I understand though. I understand the concept.
Yeah. Tampa Bay Water has been a very good thing for Pasco County.
Yeah,
So,
I understand. I'm just
Commissioner Starkey?
get some numbers out there.
Yeah, you know, I lived here, well, when was Tampa Bay Water formed?
In 1998.
Yeah, so I was here, I remember it was before, it was the West Coast Regional
Water Supply
or
Authority,
something.
yeah. Yep.
But I recently asked Mike Carballa a question. You know, I had served on Tampa Bay Water before, briefly, and I, of course, was 6 years on Swiftmud Board, but I didn't realize how low the city of Tampa's water rates are compared to the rest of us. And they don't participate in Tampa Bay Water like the rest of us. And it's because they pull their water from the Hillsborough River, right?
Yes.
Is it all from the Hillsborough River?
Yes, for the majority of the time they're
Where
providing.
does the Hillsborough River start?
It's in the green swamp.
It's in Pasco County.
Over here.
And then where is Crystal Springs, which augments that river, right? That's in Pasco County. So how are they getting that water? I wasn't here when the agreement was made, but they're getting Pasco County water for their residents, and they get to charge a much lower rate. So, yeah, that's interesting. But Commissioner Moore, what we learned at the last meeting was the excess water that the city of Tampa is going to produce, they're not giving it to Tampa Bay Water, they plan to sell it. And so, and no one knows tell me if I'm wrong, no one knows at what rate they're gonna sell their extra water.
And who to?
And to whom. So that's a little wrinkle in the plan too, so. But it does offset, having Tampa Bay Water be able to access some of that water in the Tampa Bypass Canal gives us some water, and puts off having to get a new source for a little while.
So we could pull.
But at, you know, at what cost to the overall, importance of Tampa Bay Water? I don't know what the right word is, so I'm looking forward to that workshop. So I'm still not sold on this project. You're looking at me,
Doesn't it take,
Administrator.
Ken, doesn't it take about 9 years of studying through Tampa for that TAP project to fully reach a point to where they say, yes, we're going to be able to do this or not?
They're scheduled for, I think, yeah, by 2027 is when they anticipate that could be online.
Mr. Chairman?
Yep, Commissioner Mayor.
You know, looking at the presentation, one of the things you mentioned was as far as the desal plan, as far as one of the possible plans for expansion. And we're only at 3% now. And I will tell you from my years in the Tampa Bay Water, we don't expand that operation. We do it just to make sure it flows because it's the most expensive way to, you know, to get water. So we need it for a backup source in case we have a drought condition, et cetera. But it's not really a viable thing to expand because we're not even at full capacity now, or shouldn't be if we have other sources. The problem that happened many years ago before this happened, I believe down in St. Pete, weren't there some problems with the water there is why they had to come up to Pasco County to buy water, water rights and bring it down? Can you elaborate on what happened there?
Well, as the population increased in the peninsula of Pinellas, they had to clearly, the aquifer could only sustain so much development, so they had to move their supply further inland. And in St. Pete's case, that was into northwest Hillsborough County and southern Pasco County.
So do they have issues with what hurt their water supply there, though? They couldn't use their water and they had to go outside and get other water, or is that?
It was just a limitation of fresh water available in Pinellas County or St. Petersburg. There was only so much fresh water available there.
Because otherwise you have the groundwater or saltwater intrusion that was going to come in.
Correct.
So that's a continual issue that's going to go on. One of the things, the way this was all set up, Tampa Bay Water was set up, I believe, is something where everyone was going to participate. All the infrastructure is invested by all the member governments, including Tampa. But Tampa does have the different agreement. They only buy so much water. Initially, the agreement, the way I believe it's structured, was that Tampa Bay Water, when they needed, when the city of Tampa Bay was going to need water, they would start buying it from Tampa Bay Water. Now they're trying to change that. So the dynamics of making other investments on other things or going this plan is definitely going to hurt the finances of the member governments that keep on continually buying water, which Pasco is a major purchaser as well as Pinellas. So when you look at the dynamics, this may be good for the city of Tampa, but is it good for the region? I think it really needs a lot of scrutiny on it to take a look at. If we're going to go down this road and look at it and study it, that's fine. I will tell you the projects like the 4G Ranch project, from what I can see, the aquifer is heavier than ever up there.
Yeah.
Maybe more projects like that should be used. And there was many years ago, before I even got on the commission, there was a project that was put out that we're going to take reclaimed water from Tampa, from the Howard Current plant, and run it up the line. Where that project went, I don't know.
I can tell you, I was on the
Well,
PA board.
I kind of get some inklings where it went. But I will tell you, I've actually, years ago, met with Mayor Buckhorn, et cetera, and they talked about, well, that reclaimed water is a strong resource. They've been, I guess, working on this plan for a bit. Didn't know that at the time, but clearly, if they keep the water down there, this plan works better for them. Does it work better for the region? I think if we had done that reclaim project to go hydrate the fields that were dying at the time, like Starkey was in trouble up there, and if we ran that water up there, we could have kept them all hydrated. So I think the idea of what we're doing at 4G is a better way to go, and that plan coming up there, but clearly, don't misunderstand, the city of Tampa is doing what's best for them.
Sure.
It may not be the best for the revenues for Tampa Bay Water, which we've all invested in.
Mr. Chairman,
yes,
you brought up a point, and I want to make sure the board knows this, and if you don't mind Mike coming up to the mic on this one. So I had a little meeting with Mike and our attorney, and they shared with me how, City of Tampa has a reservation. Is it up to 80? What is the reservation that City of Tampa has?
They have an allocation. I may not be using the right terms, but they have an allocation pulled from the river up to a certain amount. I want to say that's 80
Well,
MGD
if
or
they
82.
need some water, Tampa Bay Water reserves some water for them that they can purchase at the same member rate that everyone else does. Some years they use it and some years they don't. So if they don't use it, then we all get charged, right? The capital, kind of like the capital costs. And you can explain this better than me. So we did have an executive meeting and then a board meeting on shouldn't the city of Tampa help pay for some of those carry costs? And I likened it to how we do at the utilities department, where when we have to put hardware in the ground, our utility members pay a fixed fee for that hardware to be in the ground. And whether they turn the water on or not. But the city of Tampa was, if they didn't use the water, it didn't cost them anything. So they did negotiate with Tampa to have them pay $7 million. And how is that, where did that number come from and how are they paying it?
Certainly. So the idea was, as you state, Tampa, per the agreement, pays for water only when they use it. Other than that, there is no other financial contribution. So the idea behind it was that if the TAP project were to be allowed to go forward, and this was all negotiated as part of a memorandum of agreement between Tampa Bay Water and the City of Tampa, was Tampa Bay Water is assigning its rights to the City of Tampa under the premise of that agreement. I won't further elaborate on that, but as consideration for an assignment of those rights, the City of Tampa agreed to pay $7 million. That would go into the rate stabilization fund for Tampa Bay Water. The premise behind that was we looked at Tampa's average use since the inception of Tampa Bay Water. We looked at what the total fixed costs, the fixed costs, the way Tampa Bay Water bills it is it allocates the fixed costs to the various member governments based on how much water you use in any given year. So you take what those fixed costs are, and if Tampa would have taken, you come up with a number. That number works out to be rough math, about $15 million. And so what we agreed with the City of Tampa was that TAP does have certain benefits to the region. Namely, look, if you don't have to expand a source of supply, Tampa Bay Water doesn't have to go into debt. There's a savings there. The 2040 permit, which is what you were alluding to, that water could become available. So we agreed, in essence, that we would split the difference. And so that number of $7 million payable in 3 installments during the first 3 years accounts for the 9 years that it takes for Tampa Bay Water for TAP to be implemented. In essence, it's an acknowledgement that here's a payment for, we'll call it an insurance policy, if I can use that. But Tampa would still pay when they took water.
And two other interesting things is, so Tampa's going for cooperative funding. And if you go for a cooperative funding project, now it has to be regional in nature, correct, Ronnie? And
Yeah, it has to be
so we
regional.
will also, through our fees that we pay to the Water Management District, be paying on that end for their TAP project.
Whoa.
Well, yes, because cooperative funding, we pay into that. That's part of our money. And then the other interesting thing is that, I don't know, when they're supposed to be weaned off of Tampa Bay Water, is it 7 years, 9 years?
I believe it's a 9-year implementation for full implementation.
So they'll be sitting on the Tampa Bay Water Board, not using any of the water, but helping to vote on our rates. So it's an interesting dilemma that we will be workshopping.
Shenanigans.
Because, there are benefits, but there are these other interesting things that we have to just weigh, so.
Mike, during that 9-year period, will they actually be getting water out of, they'll be putting water in and getting water out during that period, so they'll have extra water and won't need to reach out to Tampa Bay Water for their excess water during that time?
I would hazard a guess, and again, it's probably best if the city were to answer that, but I imagine it would be some sort of a phased implementation, and so if they had a need for water, I would assume as a member government they could draw on that. But that'd be a good question for the workshop, sir.
The reason I ask that is because my first thought was that during that 9-year period, of course, they need extra water now at times, and we provide that through Tampa Bay Water. if they're working these wells where they're injecting and then pumping water out, they may find they don't need that water because they're pulling that water out prior to the end of that 9-year period and wouldn't be paying anything else in for the water they would need. But we wouldn't be supplying it, I don't guess, either.
Correct.
So,
So, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I know you want to end this, but, so I would implore, and I know I don't have to ask this, but my fellow commissioners that are on the board, that when you vote on this, obviously voting in the best interest of the residents of Pasco County, not the residents of the city of Tampa, look out for our rates.
this is,
Look out for
to
our
tell you, this
citizens'
is a
rates.
good conversation to have now before
Yeah.
we go into
No, you
our
guys need to
December
know what's
meeting.
going on.
Exactly, we appreciate
And
that.
we're here, Commissioner Starkey and myself sit on Tampa Bay Water Board, and our interest is Pasco, citizens of Pasco County.
It's not a good deal for
So-
us.
So it's good that we're having this conversation so we know how everybody feels toward this issue. So it's a very important issue. It's been going on a long time, and with the way it has been, it's worked very well for Pasco County, without a doubt. So,
And I'm still doing homework. I've reached out to Senator Latvala, who was kind of the founder of Tampa Bay Water. He helped put it together, and some former commissioners who have sat on Tampa Bay Water for a long time. So I'm still doing my homework.
yeah. Any other questions?
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Tampa Bay Water.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Blair, Mr. Hurt. With that, I believe that covers all of our regular items except for one, which we're going to take care of at time certain at 12 noon. I believe go to old business. We'll go to old business.
I'm ready.
Commissioner Moore.
Thank you, and congratulations, Mr. Chairman, on your chairmanship.
Thank you.
So it's been a while, so I do have a couple things today. I know it's not like me, so.
Go to noon so I can do my.
Okay. Well, we've got a time
plenty-
certain at,
45
so you
minutes.
know, we got a time certain at 11:45.
11:45?
Very important time, sir.
That's right.
Okay, excellent. Just a couple things I just wanted to bring up to the board and some conversations I've been having with FDOT and myself and Ralph met with DOT, gentleman named Richard Moss. And Ralph helped set up this meeting, and one of my things I wanted to reach out to them about was landscaping around some of our interchanges. Therefore, the lack of landscaping around our interchanges. You know, when people are coming to this area for the first time, whether it be tourists, any type of visitor, or people looking, you know, for economic development opportunities here, we want to put on our best show, right? And for the quality of life for our residents here too. And so he agreed. He was a very nice gentleman, and we're going to meet here in the very near future and do a ride-along and look at some of these interchanges and look at some of the medians that are within that vicinity too. If you look at, now there's the one exit on 56 where they're going to do diverging diamonds, so that's going to happen once that's done. But if you look at obviously the other one in Wesley Chapel, you look at the interchange, the two interchanges around the Dade City area, there's the lack of obviously landscaping, again, the medians too. So they do have, you know, I'm not saying we're going to get anything, but they do have some pots of money out there that could possibly be used for this. You know, whether it be palm trees or, you know, on the hills along the interchanges, and again, the medians. So what I would maybe ask one of my fellow commissioners.
Certain interchanges, I mean.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking of all the interchanges, but if anybody wants to reach out to the Turnpike Authority, or that,
Well-
what was it? Reach out to them, since it's, you know, outside my district. Maybe you can have those conversations. It sounds like you already have those conversations.
Mr. Starkey?
No, you're still on.
Go ahead.
I'll
So,
just add to what he
okay,
said.
good. So maybe you can talk about that if you are, or if you're willing to reach out to them. And I'll just stay focused on the ones along 75 and have those meetings. And I'll just update you every meeting, the next board meetings, how that conversation's going. There are pots of money, again, available. Now, we have our other interchange. We're going to be doing the new interchange. We're going to be doing, so we also had that conversation too. So when we're designing that, we need to talk to FDOT, because there may be funds available for extra landscaping coming off that exit too, so, which would be nice. So that's what, did you want to
Yeah,
elaborate on
let
something?
me add on that, and I don't know if you were on the MPO when the landscaper came to our meeting, because I complained about the same thing, and I've known this for a while, that a certain percentage of every
Yes.
project can be, is dedicated to landscaping, and
Correct.
if you don't ask for it, it goes to somewhere else in the
Correct.
district.
Correct.
And for a long time, the county didn't want to maintain it, so we didn't ask for it. So I asked for it for the 75-52 interchange when they finished that, and they put some in. I would say it was a minimal landscape plan, but they did bring the Turnpike Authority landscaper to our MPO meeting, and she agreed that they have definitely not landscaped our interchanges, and that they would when the construction was done, because they're going to be doing some work on the Suncoast. I also reached out to the secretary and to the person in charge of landscaping at District 7 about landscaping meetings on 54, and I plan to submit this spring. There's a certain submittal time, and because the developers along 54 had come together. I don't know if Clark Hobby's still here, but Clark is kind of one who put it together a couple years ago. We were trying to find a plan to just update that road, and so we're going to be submitting in the spring when the round comes for some landscaping for 54. But that pot is different than the Suncoast, the
Okay.
Turnpike pot. But
So-
I'm very
yeah.
glad you're on this, and it's needed, and I take pictures all the time. If you look
Yeah.
at the Ocala 75 exit, I have a
use it,
picture
yeah.
of it.
I've got a bunch on my
Yeah.
phone too.
Yeah, I mean, it's gorgeous.
That's what I shared.
All these palm trees,
Yes,
and
correct.
we have, one here and one there. So I absolutely agree with you,
Good, good.
and
Thank you.
that we have been not loud, not squeaky enough.
Yeah. So he was
Yeah.
he was good. So I was happy with, the meeting went well, so.
We could even do an accounting to see how much work has been done in Pasco and how much landscaping money we've received versus, out of 20 years out of District 7. That is the same pot where we're getting the money for US 19.
So I will update you after I do the ride-along with DOT
Yeah.
staff. I felt good about the conversation. So it sounds like you're going to follow up with, Commissioner, you're going to follow up with the Turnpike Authority?
Yeah,
on that side?
and the district
And
on.
the others on
and
54?
State Road 54.
Okay,
median.
good. So if we're all working together on this, maybe we can make something happen. That'd be great. Okay, moving on. Let's talk about resolutions for a second. I know we had some conversations in the past about resolutions. And I see we have a healthy plethora of them today. So what I want to just talk to the board about is maybe moving forward, some of the ones, we do quite a few of these every year. Every year we declare certain months, whatever, right? Can we not just do those by title only, and they can be delivered by the commissioner that's sponsoring them, or they can pick them up? I think in my opinion, we're kind of taking away from the honor almost of these resolutions by having so many every single month. I mean, it kind of just takes the celebration out of it, in my opinion. Now, I'm with you, and I'm all for doing the 20, 30 years, recognizing people. I'm all about that. But when we have, every year, there's a certain month that we declare something for. And if we do that every single year, I don't see the need in that. I just don't. We've done that. I mean, you look at most governments, and city governments especially, if they do a proclamation, they proclaim that month that, and it's that forever. Do we really need to do that every year? I mean, I don't get it. So if we can, yeah. And I'm fine with giving people a resolution every year to declare that month, but can we do it by title only?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Something, this has been a little bone of mine for a while, and it's not just that, it's just the whole way we do these. And what concerns me is is that it stops the business, and we have people being charged by hourly. There's a lot of money going out the window, and a lot of staff time while we sit there. Sometimes it's a couple hours of resolution. So what I would like to suggest, just moving, building on what you say, is that we look and see, have staff look and see what other counties do for the resolutions, and
It'll be what we
maybe
do.
take a look and see if there's a better way to do these than we have been doing them. Because I've asked that, and it's, other counties do it very differently, and I suggest we all get to see what that looks like.
I mean, if it's trick or treat month, you know, do we need to declare a trick or treat month every year?
Can't get him started.
I mean, are we in agreement on that one at least? I mean,
And
that
are we doing it at the right
Let's hear from the
Yeah.
other commissioners. Commissioner Wells?
And if you remember, I brought this up, I
Yeah,
want
that's
to say
what-
like 6 months into the job, and it was a lot worse.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to say worse, but, because it's important we do these things. I know it means a lot to them, and it means a lot to us too, but I, probably half of mine, we do title only, and I bring it out to them.
Yeah.
I think it means more like the Lighthouse for the Blind.
Yeah.
I went out to them when they had their event, and I was able to actually spend time with folks. I personally think it means more, and I think if we explain that to them, listen, we're gonna do title only, the district commissioner, the chairman, whoever it's gonna be will come out. I think it's more personal. I think it's better, because it takes everybody's time to come out here, or New Perici. I agree. I want to say some counties have a couple different ones, but I don't know that we want to do that. I think we still keep it as a resolution, but it's not a bad idea maybe to look to see what other counties do. But I'm in agreement. We need to make it, get the best bang for our buck, and I think, like I said, I see more gratitude from when I'm able to go out there.
Sure.
Than
So,
here.
so if we've already declared, could we, Mr. Biles, maybe get with your team, and if we've already declared something a month, you know, in the past, we've already made that declaration. If we still want to do a resolution, fine, but can we just, if everybody's in agreement at least on that, we do it by title only going forward?
We already identify them as annual resolutions when they come into our office. So, I mean, that's,
Okay.
we have on a more abbreviated
Okay, so you know, if
process.
we've already declared something, now if it's a new one, I get it. We knew one, we'll do the whole deal and read it through, but.
And at some time back, the board had discussed, and I thought had agreed, but
we never went forward with it.
that those sorts of resolutions that you were going to be taking out to the field, so to speak.
Correct.
Would be on consent. They wouldn't even be by title only, they'd be on the consent agenda, and there would be an approval, and you'd sign the parchments, and they'd be distributed.
I'm okay with that too.
I'm fine with that too.
I am too. That's,
If you want to make a motion, yeah.
Do I need to make a motion for that? I mean, if we need to make a motion, I'll make a motion
I don't know
that,
if we need to make a motion.
that those will be on consent.
I
going
mean,
forward.
I think that's administrative direction, I don't think you
Okay.
need to make a motion.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
Okay, so we're all good?
we're good.
And then look at what others are doing for the other things? Okay.
I think the
Commissioner
key there is,
Mariano,
I'm
anything
with
to
it
add?
all the way. Like I said, I thought we had this implemented.
Yeah,
a few
we
years
never-
back, and then we did for a while, and then we kind of throttled back, so.
so I think the key there is when your assistants send them to the county attorney's office, identify those that would go on consent versus at the
Right.
130.
If they've already been
At
declared,
that
then,
time.
if
But
it's a
you-
new one, then let's
Yeah, you
do the whole process.
You
That's-
tell, make sure we know so that we make sure to put it in the right section of the agenda.
Beautiful, thank you.
And on that note, real quick, if I could, Chairman,
Okay,
there's going to be a resolution coming to the board next meeting that I was planning on presenting from all of us to the Kona breakfast, thanking HOA, CDDs for everything they do in the county. So we're going to have to sign a bunch of them, but that's going to be something when we're all at that meeting, we'll be able to give to them, and, because I know they always thank us, but it'll take a minute for us to thank them.
but that'll be done right at the meeting.
Yeah, so we're going to sign them at the meeting.
That's
but
the right
we're
way
gonna
to
do
do
them
it.
at the Kona meeting, and
Yeah,
then let
that's-
Kona.
And that's
hand
new
them out.
anyways, that's a new one anyways.
Yeah, but I think it means more to
Oh, I
go
got
to
you,
the
yeah.
breakfast. There's 50-something,
Yeah.
organizations there.
Sure,
So,
Right.
good idea.
I think that's the right way to do it, and each of our districts have different ones that we could deliver
Keep going.
at one of their meetings or something of that nature, and take care of their outside of this venue. So I think that would work out pretty good.
Great, thank you all.
Anything else?
Yes, I have 2 more items. Real quick, Mr. Biles, and if you can get with the team, we implemented the bin ordinance for the charity bins. For a while, it was looking good. It's bad again.
Okay.
I mean, they are taking over the county again. I'd give you a number, but I can't count that high. There's a lot of them.
All right, we'll get them back
I'm
out
seeing
there.
more. Yeah, we need to, I've sent a few,
Right.
to the team, but I would send them every day.
Okay.
So I think we really need to follow up. I have not seen anything that's quote registered out there,
Okay.
and they're everywhere.
Yeah, we'll get them on it.
And the last one, if the team can also take a look at the closed strip mall along Hale Road and Lena Lakes Boulevard. That deteriorated signage is looking very, very bad. The weeds are growing up in the area. It's looking more
Where?
blighted. It's the old strip plaza on Lena Lakes Boulevard that took a long time to demo, I think because there was some litigation between the owner and a tenant. There was a cell phone store there was a liquor store, there was a few other things. They finally took it down, but we need to go after them because they're not taking care of it.
Yeah.
It's fenced in. Again, the signage is deteriorated, and I drove by there probably 3 days ago. It looks terrible.
Okay.
So we need to cite the owner.
Got it.
Thank you. That's it.
That's it? Commissioner Starkey?
Well, since I last saw you, I did my trip to the White House up and back, and that was a very, very interesting experience. I was one of 4 commissioners from around the country, 2 governors, 2 mayors, CEOs, and some students who were participating in apprenticeship-style training programs. And we weren't expecting the president to be there. There were only 2 chairs sitting in front of us in the stateroom, one for Ivanka Trump, because I asked who was going to be there, one for Ivanka Trump and one for Larry Kudlow. And then and seated right in front of me was the cabinet, the Treasury, Labor, Commerce, Education, and I don't remember who the 5th one was. But then all of a sudden in walked the president. Oh, they brought in another chair, and then in walked the president. So it was yeah, it was a very cool experience. I think it changed the meeting a little bit. Instead of being a dialogue, it became a little bit more of a press conference kind of feel to it. And but Ivanka was absolutely lovely, and I've invited her down to visit Amskills or us to have a discussion up there in Washington, but we've invited her down. And it's great to see the attention being placed on workforce training. I had a meeting with some citizens on the Holiday area, and they opened my eyes to this interesting trail, greenway that apparently our homeless folks and maybe some people engaged in crime are traversing the west side of the county on. It was very eye-opening to me. I plan to go out there and walk it with the sheriff and staff. But Mr. Boz, I'm really hoping we're going to start some of that brush clearing off of next to Sunray Elementary. I think, is Kim still here? Okay, so I understand you guys want to go in there and deal with some of the homeless camps first.
So we have a meeting scheduled with Kelly Miller and the Colonial Hills, and we brought in the Keith Wiley, and we're bringing everybody in, Homeless Coalition, and we're going to map it out and see what parcels of properties so we can see what we can clear and what we can't. That meeting is scheduled, I think, December 3rd.
All right, well, I'm very concerned that we own property next to an elementary school where we have perhaps, folks living in the woods who we don't want to be there on our property. I mean, we have a hard enough time getting other people to clear their property, but we shouldn't be providing that kind of habitat.
So if you'd
Especially
like to
next
join us,
elementary
we're going to be there. I think it's December 3rd, but I'll get that date for you in time. Okay?
So-
Closing it, they were closing the road.
Oh, I don't know what we're doing on that yet, but if you want to bring that up now, you can bring that up now.
No,
So
I was
Commissioner
waiting.
Moore is
Yeah.
reminding us about that area between the Target and the Walmart off of there at 41, and if we've had any action on that and what we need to do.
Supposedly you guys closed the road.
It's a
The county closed
dumping,
the road.
it's a dumping ground.
Supposedly the county's now closed the road. You're not letting traffic through because the dumping's so bad.
Okay, yeah, I'll check on that. Yeah.
Maybe you can give us an update this afternoon.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm getting a lot of calls too.
I was a little frustrated to see another storage facility coming on State Road. Now, this one's on 56, so maybe it's not as built up, but again, those are not high-paying jobs. It's land I wish we were reserving for another use. I think maybe we can say if your business isn't bringing in X amount of jobs, you shouldn't be on, facing the road like that. I don't know, but is there something we can do to stop hurting ourselves? Because that's hurting us.
We're gonna raise their mobility fees. That's it.
I don't think they get a mobility fee credit if you're bringing in a storage
No,
facility.
they're gonna get raised.
So if they've got the proper future land use and they've got the proper zoning, it's an entitlement to build whatever is allowable under your code. Mobility fees is a different question.
Yeah, so on your agenda later today, there's a proposed increase in the mobility fees for mini storage facilities.
Oh, okay, sorry, I missed that, yeah.
So that's not going to
Well-
prohibit, as Mr. Steinsetter said, that's not going to prohibit a mini storage, but it would raise their fees.
I'm only against them, I don't want to do that around the county as a whole. I'm only against that on frontage of a main road like 54, 56.
Yeah.
That's it, that we've got enough of them there.
I agree.
Then I just wanted to remind you all about lectures on the lawn. It's December 14th. We got November 2nd was moved because of the weather. It turns out we had tornadoes coming through. I actually drove into one. Thank goodness it's a Florida tornado and not a Midwestern tornado. And let's see, there was I had one other thing that just escaped me, so I reserve the right to say it again.
Reserve the right.
Well, you're lucky, we'll let you have that right.
Good luck, Chairman. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, I know. Wait, okay.
Oh, wait a minute. she
Sorry,
thought about
I
it.
did remember, and I have it in here somewhere. But since Tampa Bay Water was here, actually it's from T-Barta. So I have asked, and I hope this will become the tradition, is that we represent the county on certain boards. And I'm on T-Barta and Tampa Bay Water, among others. And so I think it's really important that we give the board updates on what's happening on those boards. And this morning, we kind of went into more detail on what's going on at Tampa Bay Water, because that's a board decision, not just my decision. So I have asked Tampa Bay Water and T-Barta to do a summarization of the important things that happen at our meetings, not the minutes that have maybe more than we need, but just a bullet-by-bullet summarization, and I will email those to you, email you the T-Barta one later today, but you should know that we are working on that BRT plan, and we're still waiting for Hillsborough County to chime in on it. It keeps getting tabled over there. We all have to be participating in it or it doesn't work. And Commissioner from Hillsborough County's been an interesting fellow board member, let me just say that. And but I do reiterate that we need to see a benefit here in Pasco County and Wesley Chapel, that right now the plan is that we move the bus, or whatever we're going to call it, I hate using that word bus, the vehicle will move with traffic at the beginning until we get past that. Yes, because of the land. But I've mentioned to them that it's Flatwoods, and Commissioner Oakley, you know this from being on the Water Management Board, that the Water Management Board, they sell land all the time. They surplus land they're not needing. And so I can see the concept of where if FDOT needs to buy a little more land from the Water Management District to put in that dedicated shoulder through that area, that we could work something out where they mitigate for it somewhere else. So I understand, the cost-benefit analysis, and it may not, if the traffic's moving okay now, then we may not see that expense at the very beginning, but it needs to be part of the plan there will be a trigger that gets done. So I just want you to know I'm representing that viewpoint at T-Barta. And I think that's really the main thing that's going on at T-Barter right now, so.
You
Okay.
done?
Yep.
Are you sure?
You got very much?
Are you sure?
No, I still reserve that right.
You have very much, because then we got a time certain.
I can get it done, especially
Okay.
for our time certain, 11:45, I saw
Chairman
the
Wells.
weekend, so. A couple things, and Commissioner Starkey, you brought it up, but talking about trespassing ordinance, I know the way it works now for like Pasco County with the sheriff's office is we have to fill out a form for every building we have. We have to renew it every year. I know Eric's working with the sheriff's office now. It would be nice to be able to have one blanket form that we sign that covers all 8,000 parcels, not to mention our buildings, to where we're able to trespass folks that are loitering or whatever the case may be. So I know we're working on that, which would address some of what you're talking about. And I think that we do need to, I know we've talked a little bit about a rental registry ordinance. I know that you're very passionate about it, and I like the idea. I have some ideas. So I think we definitely need to, I don't know, we talked about it 2 meetings ago. We probably need to have a workshop maybe to address that, as well as you talked about cleaning up property, holding landowners accountable to clean up raw land. I think we might be able to incorporate that with the blight ordinance to include that, but I agree with you. You know, we know the issues. We can see what, you know, Kathy's team and the sheriff's office had to deal with on 52 and 19, where those young ladies are being raped in the woods. There's nothing good going on in these woods, so we need to hold these landowners accountable, and I think there's a plan to do it, but I just think we need to have a workshop sooner than later with the sheriff's office and whoever else needs to be there to get this ball rolling, if you will, to hold, you know, what I would like to see from rental ordinance is kind of, I think we all met with the sheriff's office, but to where if they get called out there a certain amount of times, we're able to hold that landlord accountable.
And code enforcement.
Exactly, and that goes for multifamily, Commissioner Moore, no pun intended. But, you know, especially with those, holding these folks accountable, because not to mention the blight and the values and so forth. And I told you I'd be brief. So there's 2 events coming up. I believe you all know the Sunrise Breakfast is coming up on the 6th. So at 7 a.m. at St. Leo. I know they still have room for tables. I will be there, and I've got a couple guests going with me. And I also sit on the YMCA board, and we're having the prayer breakfast on December 7th at the Spartan Manor. And the keynote speaker is Scott Fink, so I know you all understand everything he does for our county when it comes to homelessness, well, to everything. So if you all could make it and support the YMCA and support Scott, I'd appreciate it. And I'll have Kathy email you all more information. So with that, I'm done. Thank you.
Okay. At this time, I'll call on Ms. O'Neill. Take care
Thank
of
you.
this issue.
So we do want to recognize by resolution one of our long-term teammates. So Linda Dillon, could you come forward?
And can I say one thing before you read the resolution?
No, because you're going to make me cry.
No, I'm not. I'm going to tell you, yesterday I saw Judge Tepper and told her about the resolution, and I told her that it was at 11:45 sharp, and she was not on Tepper time. And here she is.
And here
I
she
told
is,
her that I would
on time.
embarrass her if she came, and I just went by.
Thank you, Judge Tepper, for being here, too. We appreciate that, and all of our guests. Let me read this resolution, Ms. Dillon.
Yes.
Resolution number 1932. And bear with me, it's going to take me more than 15 minutes to read it. Resolution number 1932. Whereas Linda S. Dillon is a true public servant, spending her 47-year career serving our children and our community with integrity, professionalism, and compassion. And whereas Linda began her career working in Pasco County for the state of Florida as a juvenile probation counselor, after which she worked for Pasco County School Board as a school social worker. She joined the Pasco Clerk and Controller's Office on September 9th, 1985. And whereas during her career with the Clerk and Controller's Office, Linda serves as Director of Support Services, later known as Director of Records, and Director of Civil Courts. And whereas during her time in records, her team processed over 38,000 marriage licenses and nearly 70,000 passports. Linda supervised many projects to ensure the success of the office, protection of the public's confidential and sensitive information, and compliance with statutes and laws. For example, Linda led her team in conjunction with the IT department to plan, create, and implement a replacement official records program in 2006. The program was built so well that it is still relevant and has updated features that makes it competitive with currently available vendor systems, saving on annual maintenance and licensing costs. And whereas Linda worked with her team and the IT department to image official records dating back to 1975 to provide the public with online access to official records in 2001. In 2007, the Florida legislature passed a bill requiring the redaction of confidential information contained in official records. Linda led her team to complete redactions from online images dating back to 1975 and completed the project 3 years ahead of state requirements. During her time in the records department, Linda's team applied 726,000 redactions in official records, protecting confidential personal information. And whereas Linda led official records to the scan-in-hand service implemented in 2004, scan-in-hand is exactly as stated, allowing documents to be recorded and returned to customers within minutes, avoiding the delay of mailing recorded documents. And whereas in 2005, Linda coordinated with the civil, criminal, and IT departments to increase interdepartmental efficiencies by automating the recordation of court documents and official records and implemented paperless indexing. And whereas Linda ensured that the records team followed the document preservation standards of the United States Library of Congress. Until recently, the Library of Congress standard for archiving documents in perpetuity was with microfilm. To have a long lifespan, microfilm must be treated with special chemicals. Linda led a project to chemically treat over 5,000 rolls of microfilm containing 20 million image documents, preserving much of the history of Pasco County. And whereas in 2010, the clerk determined that Linda's skills were needed in another area, when the topic was introduced, she was offered a cookie as they were eating lunch. Linda very indignantly said, "It's going to take more than a cookie." But it didn't. And whereas, as a civil courts director, Linda, known for tackling projects and doing successfully, led her team in the implementation of e-filing in April 2013, and 2 weeks later, because she loves a good challenge, converted her team to the clericus case maintenance system, replacing a system that was implemented in 2001. And whereas under Linda's leadership in civil, the civil team processed over 330,000 filings, docketed 500,000 electronically filed pleadings, conducted 24,000 online foreclosure sales, issued 330,000 summonses, assisted 50,000 pro se litigants, processed 15,000 applications for indigency determination, attended hearings for 26,000 domestic violence and 30,000 small claims cases, and opened 209,000 new cases. And whereas Linda is known as the Queen of Tax Deeds, and we moved that area to civil when she moved from official records. Tax deed sales are scheduled to go online next week. And Linda's retirement is today, but she plans to volunteer to ensure the smooth operation of the first online sale. Oh, I guess in 2 days, right?
No, actually, in 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks, okay. I know, it's hard. Whereas Linda and Paula were returning from a conference, and Linda suggested we start group wedding ceremonies on Valentine's Day. Within a few days, we advertised our first Valentine's Day wedding on the historic courthouse lawn, which has continued annually for 10 years. And whereas Linda represented the clerk and controller at board meetings for many years, on one such occasion, she had difficulty pronouncing a foreign name. When one commissioner corrected her, she got up and marched over to him and told him to read it. As the audience laughed,
I didn't exactly march over there.
She realized she might be in trouble. And whereas Linda lives each day with the motto, treat others as you wish to be treated, and as a servant leader works alongside her team. And whereas besides Linda's leadership and expansive knowledge, her amazing culinary skills will be sorely missed. She is known for baking amazing sweet treats such as her meal-sized chocolate chip cookies and her golden Paula Deen bars, which must contain a pound of butter in each bar. Linda is not only an amazing baker, she can cook up a feast fit for a king. And whereas Linda obtained her cooking talent from her mom, Margaret, ever thoughtful, Linda asked her mother to bake beautiful cakes for the office and also made special cake deliveries to the Florida clerks during new clerk training. And whereas Linda is sincerely thoughtful and has never forgotten a birthday, You know when it's your birthday, Linda not only gives you a card, but it comes with a sweet treat. Whereas Linda is a world traveler, taking trips all around the globe, we love to follow her itinerary as she travels to lands far away. If you want to know how to travel in a foreign country, just ask Linda, as more than likely she has been there. And whereas Linda has a heart of gold, she has been an essential part of Clerks for a Cure since it was organized, helping with fundraising events and creating gift baskets for raffles. You can always count on Linda to help lend a helping hand, and that will continue so the vendors here can keep that in mind. Whereas Linda's heart of gold may have come from the love of her favorite college football team, the colors of garnet and gold, the Florida State Seminoles, where she never misses a game. And whereas Linda may be tiny in stature, but she is mighty in heart. She has little feet, but her shoes are the biggest of Phil. Known for her speed, her short legs would outpace a giant. She has proven her strength on the racquetball court, as dust does not settle on Linda. If you blink, you'll miss her, as she will be off to the next challenge to overcome. And whereas Linda's dedication and dependability in her performance of her job duties make her a valuable asset to the clerk and controller. And whereas during her more than 33 years of service here and more than 47 years dedicated to Pasco,
You're getting there.
yep, Linda diligently and conscientiously served the citizens of Pasco County and customers of the clerk and controller in her positions, ensuring integrity while providing outstanding service. And whereas as of November 27th, this date, Linda will retire from the office of Clerk and Controller, and the Board of County Commissioners and the Clerk and Controller deem it appropriate to recognize her contributions to both the customers of the Clerk and Controller's office and the citizens of Pasco County. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of County Commissioners, Pasco County, Florida, in session duly assembled, that said board hereby expresses its deepest appreciation to Linda S. Dillon for her more than 47 years of service to the citizens of Pasco County. Done and resolved in regular session with the quorum present and voting this 27th day of November 2018, signed by the board.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passed.
Well, I know the routine. I'm supposed to say Linda Dillon, 38053 Live Oak, Dade, Florida, 33523, because
I can't
we've
believe
asked
that's
people
all
1,000 times to give us their address. And after you read all that, gosh, no wonder we're tired, huh? Wow, really. I have to tell you, I have some of the best people, teammates you could possibly have. I have retired ones here and ones that are presently working. I also have my two sisters and my sister by another mother that's here. And my oldest friends from Newport Ritzy are here. Some of which I just left that we're going to New Smyrna on Sunday. Good Lord. I'm so surprised. But it's been a great run, 33 years. At the clerk's office, we've had a lot of fun. Of course, I had a lot of years with the board. The incident that Paula remarked, I'm telling you, I have never been so, you just get up and you do it, and everybody starts to laugh, and you go, oh, I shouldn't have done that, I guess, huh? But I have to say, the commissioner was very, very nice. He said to me, beat up by a 90-pound woman. How do you like that? So I knew I was okay. But it's been great. I appreciate everything. And I remember the board meetings when we were at 6:30 at night, and we ran until 2 o'clock in the morning. The ones that we started at 10 o'clock in the morning, and we went to 2 o'clock in the morning. So there were lots of board meetings. There's no doubt about that. The fun part was always being here, and you knew what was coming in the community. You knew what to look for, what things were going to happen, and it was great. And like Paula said, when she said, you want to go to civil? She didn't exactly say, you want to go to civil. Nikki didn't. She just said, I have a cookie for you, little girl. That's about the way it came out. So, but I have never, all it did was increase my family, my clerk's family, which was great. I'm so sorry a lot of them can't be here today, but I appreciate the ones that are. So thank you very much.
And many of them are retired already, but Linda, don't leave, because I do have the plaque for you. And I don't know if any commissioners have anything to say. I think you probably want to get, I think probably everybody here is for you. So maybe we could get, them to come up here. You have a 12 o'clock?
Yeah.
Right, well, we have 10
we
minutes.
have 12 o'clock.
We have 10 minutes to get a photo.
We have time for a photo.
We have plenty of time for
You
that.
got plenty of time.
And we have, I know you're turning in your real badge, we have a volunteer badge for you, because I know we're gonna keep you around, and we appreciate that. And you know what we did forget to mention all the
We'll get a volunteer
times.
badge for her too, you know, we can shift her over.
Oh, no, you've stolen enough of our teammates. We also want to recognize all your work going to Student of the Month when I couldn't go to represent for the schools and the chambers. Thank you for doing all of that.
Absolutely.
No matter
And I
what.
will continue
Linda's
doing
always-
that.
Yes.
That's fun.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to come down. I know the commissioners
Well, I'd
want to
like-
wish you
I'd
well
like to
as
say
well.
one thing, Linda. I certainly appreciate you. I've seen you many, many years in different positions around here, and I was looking forward to seeing you more, but then you went into a different position, hid behind a closet or a door somewhere.
I
Every
know,
now and
it's
then you see. But you've done a fantastic job for this county, and certainly want to appreciate it. And you've been a great citizen for Pasco County all this time.
Thank you, Ron.
Definitely.
I
Thank you
appreciate
so
that.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, look at that.
Sadly.
Hey, it matches her outfit. How'd you know that?
Should we go? They gonna have all those folks come up though?
I think
I can't believe how much, I'm not messing you. Yeah. Where's that high?
Y'all, if this were a ship, you would be in danger.
Well, I did once or twice, and but it wasn't as much as today. I don't know why it's so much today.
It's just one thing, you gotta stack of flats here.
Oh, I can read Mike's text while I'm standing here.
City of Zephyrhills, Zephyrhills got a.
I don't know.
It's got the YMCA record.
City Hall, you know, yeah. I'm going to that. They said, oh, you going to that? I don't like to look.
Over here, all the folks over here need to go back there. You are going to be way outside the frame of this picture.
Well, at least we got better. That's good, Dave.
Sit down.
Hurry up here. Watch that.
Dad, how you doing?
How are you?
How you doing? Good to see you.
Hey, Thad, how are you, sir?
Good. How are you?
Thank you. Good to see you. All right, good to see you.
Good.
You see him all the time. Trust me, when she said old friend, I was going to make a comment, literally, but the wise were there to listen.
got
had more time this morning.
I'm about to jump in there.
I'm gonna leave right after this. But I have a 12:30. I know, I'm gonna go down. So I'm gonna go down and get ready for the meeting.
Oh, okay.
I'm not gonna wait for you to say we're adjourned. That's all.
Well, I'm just gonna say it one way, so it's all right.
All right.
I think you have to call.
Count to three, Tom. 3, 2, 1.
You have to say something.
Any idea that you're not going to be?
Maybe not.
Somebody take a knee. Take some knees down there.
Take a
Be as calm as you possibly can, everybody, okay?
What we doing?
I got my heels on.
Everybody's smiling. Everybody's looking happy. Everybody's looking light.
Goodness gracious.
All right.
Hopefully one of those got it. I think it's got one for everybody.
Can you take his FSU sticker off the back?
Look at Ralph, he's getting those taken.
No? I wasn't sure if he was
Does
embarrassed.
that say FSU?
Yep.
Take it off.
Go Gators.
Yeah, go Gators.
I'm not saying that.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Dean, let's move, Ralph.
We need to adjourn this one till 1:30?
It's not a good game.
You have to read that thing off. You have to read that thing off.
What?
You have to read that thing off. He said you have to read this whole thing off before we leave.
Huh? No.
Just turn it back over to me and I'll deal with it.
Oh,
I'll
you
deal with
got
it.
it?
Yep.
They forgetting we're still meeting?
Dang it.
Just say it. Just go ahead. Just say it. Just say it.
Well, I've got to turn it over to Jeff. Come back, hey, come back.
Some litigation thing.
I know. I was gonna go downstairs. Just say it. Just say it while they're leaving.
No, he's
Mr.
got to say it.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I have an issue.
It's a really crowd, I'm sorry.
I have an issue with Ms. Spiritos getting over here. In the interest of your schedule for today, you have a meeting on December 4th that you're doing a land use item on. I don't know what the length of that is, but what we can do is do the litigation we'll continue the litigation assessment meeting to that meeting and take it up directly after that land use item is finished.
I have meetings at lunch.
May I ask you a question?
Sure.
Is she on her way here? Something happened on her way here?
She was delayed in her departure.
So
if you want to do it at 12:30, but I thought you.
No, what about if we do it at 1? Because I do have a lunch meeting, but.
Can we do it at 1 o'clock?
But if we did it at 1, I could
I'm
probably.
fine with that.
I can make it happen at 1.
Okay, I'm gonna do my
in
meeting.
that case.
Let me look, because I got
Okay.
meetings too. Hold on a
Okay.
second. What's today? 27th?
I just saw you get over it.
Yeah, I have a meeting at 12:30 to 1. I'll be done at 1, so I'm good.
Okay.
Okay, I'm good at 1.
Mr. Chairman, I desire the advice of the Board of County Commissioners concerning the case of Diane Therault Kerbenik versus Pasco County, Florida, and Bonnie Benke et al. Case number 5/1/2016 CA 3484WS, Florida Circuit Court, 6th Judicial Circuit, to discuss settlement negotiations and strategy related to litigation expenditures. And for that reason, I request a private attorney-client meeting. If the board approves, you should open the private attorney-client meeting and announce the commencement and estimated length of time of the private attorney-client meeting, the names of the persons and the names of the persons attending. At the conclusion of the private attorney-client meeting, the board's public meeting should be reconvened and you should announce the termination of the private attorney-client meeting. The entire private attorney-client meeting will be reported by a certified court reporter, and the transcript thereof will be made a public record upon conclusion of the litigation. I estimate that the attorney-client meeting will last approximately 30 minutes. We have scheduled a certified court reporter to be in attendance in the Commissioners' Conference Room for the private attorney-client meeting. If the chair will read that, you're going to convene at 1 p.m.
Which part now? This is right here? Or the whole thing?
Right here. I hereby announce.
Okay, I hereby announce the commencement of the private attorney-client meeting in which the board will discuss settlement negotiations and strategy, let me see here, related to the litigation expenditures in the case of Diane, what's your last name?
Coburnick.
Thurl Coburnick
versus Pasco County, Florida, and
Bonnie
Binkley et al. Case number 51-01 or 2016-CA-3484-WS Florida Circuit Court 6 Judicial Circuit. Okay. This means of the
names of the persons.
The name of the person, Commissioner Ron Oakley, Jack Mariano, Mike Wells, Catherine Starkey, Mike Moore, County Attorney Jeffrey Steinsnyder, and the County Administrator Dan Biles, David A. Goldstein, Chief Assistant Attorney Nikki H. Spiros, Senior Assistant County Attorney, and Court Reporter. The estimated length of the private client meeting is approximately 30 minutes. The private attorney-client meeting will convene in the Commissioners' Conference Room.
At 1 p.m.
At 1 p.m. Okay?
Thank you.
All right. And do we have pictures today? No?
Okay, I'm out of here.
Okay, so we'll, this meeting is adjourned, but then we'll start our public hearings at 1:30. So, thank you.
Hey, Mark, you want to meet now?